to interview a couple people right now that have done a really good job with overcoming obstacles in their business. So my obstacle panel, can you guys come up, please? Josh, can you hand me that notebook? Yeah, the only notebook on my thing. All right, kind of quiet. Let's give them a round of applause. Why don't you guys pull the seats up a little bit? Don't fall off. Okay, and we're going to get the microphone going here too. Oh, dear. All right, so why don't we start, introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from, and a little bit about your background.
Okay. I'm Deborah Yackley. I'm a diamond. I've been with It Works for just over 3 years now. I'm originally from South Dakota, but when I started this business, I was here in Minnesota. We just got moved back home last summer. A little about my background. I came to Minnesota for chiropractic school. Had a baby in the middle of it, got married, met Pam Handler, and joined the business.
Awesome. So share with us some of the struggles in your business and how you overcame some of those struggles.
Well, my first party, Pam actually wasn't able to attend. She was running a really strong business at that time. And so Lynn came, Lynn too, and Carver Quinn, and she came over to my townhome. I was living in Shakopee at that time. And all I had was my friend that came over to babysit my child at the time. I don't know where my boyfriend or husband at the time was. We weren't married yet. But she just came to babysit because I was thinking I was going to have this awesome party, and nobody showed up. Nobody. But she wrapped for me, and she had results. She didn't sign up right away. She actually did become a loyal customer a while later, probably last year when I went diamond. And then I had a second launch party at my chiropractic college. Only one person showed up, but she signed up as a distributor, and at the time we were measuring, she had lost a lot of inches in 45 minutes, so she was hooked. So those are those business ones. So then I was like, oh, why am I not getting all these people at my parties that they keep talking about? And then, but I got my loyal customers. I did get the 120 of your product credit that first month. Use it for product that I wanted to use on myself because my son was a year old and I still had my baby weight was gone, but I was still 30 pounds overweight. So I was like, I'm really gonna work on this. And so I used it on products for myself, and I think I have a good personal testimony for that. And then along the way, my husband has never been really supportive of it. He came to my first conference 3 years ago, and he stayed at the beach house the whole time. He was studying for classes or something, but I got to spend time with all these awesome people, so that was awesome.
So how do you, and your spouse is still not supportive,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So what advice can you give to those that are maybe kind of in the same boat? You know, you've made it to where you are, you're doing well in your business without that support. So what advice can you give to them?
Something I learned from Crystal and Josh was she had told Josh at one point, like, just don't talk to me negative about the business, just let me do my thing, basically. So that's what I told my husband as well. And for the most part, he is supportive of everything else, and I think he was just worried that this was taking my time away from him, basically. So, to overcome that or deal with that, I guess I just I know what it's going to do for our family. I see the potential. I see what it's done for so many others, so I just keep that in the back of my mind and keep going.
You're doing amazing. So what has this done for your family? Because you ran a successful business, you're doing a great job. What has It Works meant to you? What has it done for you?
I found a whole new family. That's part of my obstacles, is my own family. As a chiropractor, it's the same. Your family's almost your worst to treat. So for me, my family was not, they don't want to try these products. My husband's side's really good about it. My side, my mom passed away, so I think they feel like if I fail at this, I don't know, then it must be a terrible thing, but,
What has this done for you?
and what's it done for me? Yeah, it's definitely self-development. I've learned to not take so many things personally because you do get told no a lot. You get told it doesn't work, and you're like, well, have you even tried it to know it doesn't work? I know it worked for me. So that's, you know, and last January, well, it's a little something I don't know if a ton of people know, but my husband was in jail for 30 days. It was a really dumb mistake that we had made. I won't go into it. I promise you it was a really dumb thing. And so that 30 days, it was just me and my son, went through Thanksgiving by ourselves. And I had been told that someone else was gonna go diamond before me, and it kind of like set off this trigger in my head, like, you don't get to control when I go diamond, I get to control that. So I went to conference again in January, and I got to work when I got home. I went to I did events, I followed up. I'm really good at following up, like within the first week. Followed up, got people signed up, went through all my old leads, signed up people over the phone at 9:30 at night. I think the last minutes of getting diamond, I was signing up for customers over Facebook messaging, just going crazy. We were sending support tickets, it was crazy. But yeah, the light bulb went off and I put my blinders on and I got to work, and I was not gonna let anybody control my feet.
Awesome. So you let that on the video.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Judy, so do you want to share with everybody a little bit about your background and how you got started?
Sure. So I was probably a really easy sell for Lynn. She came over to a networking group. I was actually there with another product I was selling, a company I was working for, a networking company. And she came from the neighboring chiropractic office and said she had this amazing ramp that would tighten, tone, and firm. And I thought $25. I was spent that in a lot of other worse ways. So I called her up sneakily after the meeting and said, hey, could I stop by and try one of those wraps? And later on that day, I stopped there, got a wrap on. She said, you know, I'm doing a launch party for a new distributor tonight at a coffee at a Caribou over towards Maywood, where we lived. And if you'd like to stop in, well, I stopped in with my laptop and I signed up, pretty much to her unknown that I was going to do that. So I'm kind of spontaneous that way. Not a lot of thought process there. I was in the other business I was in, I really wasn't making money, so I thought, well, if I don't really make a lot of money, it's all good, you know. So a few, do you just want to go through a few of my obstacles?
Yeah.
So a few of my obstacles then was just, so within the first year, it wasn't, you know, really too many obstacles other than I took a lot of things personal, and I've had to learn to overcome that. Whether, you know, it's from, you know, just people saying no or whoever, or, you know, whatever. But then my husband started working out of state about a year into this. The one thing this business did do for me, it allowed me to go up there and be with him part of the time and be here part of the time working with my team here. So he was supportive, and he did line up people for me to meet with when I was up there visiting him, which allowed it to be a nice little business right off, and I still have some business up there, so that's nice. But I knew, even when I first started, he worked long days and didn't get home till 7, 8 o'clock at night, so I did not want to be out doing parties at night. So I have built my business a little bit differently than some people. I really haven't done much for parties except for lots of launch parties. I really have just shared a lot of one-on-one, and it's so true that when you build your business one way, I feel like a lot of my distributors do the same thing. So that really kind of was my thing. And then this last summer, he was due to retire at the end of May, and we found out at the beginning of May that he was going to need a valve replaced in his heart. And it's something that DOT caught a couple of years ago and eluded us to have that watched in order for him to be DOT regulated. And so we had been watching it, and lo and behold, just before he retired, we decided we weren't going to have him retire or pay for all of this out of pocket, that we would use his health insurance through his company. So he went back out to North Dakota, worked for a month, came home, did an amazing Hawaii trip with one of my distributors, and signed up a new team member over there. And he came home 2 days later and had his valve replaced. And in that time, for 6 weeks, he could not drive a vehicle. The first 5 weeks, he could not sit in the front seat. So I was his taxi cab. As he was in the hospital for 5 days, or 7 days, but then he had to be taken to rehab 3 days a week in St. Paul. So I found a local coffee shop that I could drop him off at his rehab and go work my business. It just became very evident that I couldn't always be at launch parties and stuff like that, so I really had to just get my team to really step up and take those kind of responsibilities on. But yeah, it's definitely, I really just had to learn to work my business a different way and follow up and do more phone stuff with people. He took a little bit of a relapse in August and was back in the hospital for 3 days. So it was just kind of a whirlwind. And then in August, had another little episode kind of landed on our plate, but I have a grandson and he started seizuring. So he was just shy of being a year. So just kind of dealt with that too, as I was his caregiver his first year. And so just needed to it was just a lot of things happening. A lot of things that I had felt many times like I could just quit, that would have been easier. However, I had a cheering crowd, and not only was my team, and I didn't want to let them down, because every time I thought about quitting, I had a new team member that would join, and I'm like, oh, I can't quit. But Lynn was very strong behind me and very much pushing me to just keep going and just keep working it. And lo and behold, he went off of short-term disability, and they let him go 2 days later. So this has been a blessing to have this income and to have this business that we can do together now, and just not have to worry about the stresses of money. And obviously in between times it was able to pay off debt, so we weren't sitting with debt. So other than my house payment and truck payment, that's all I have. So just keep going and don't quit. Don't let those things, obstacles, block you from moving forward.
And how amazing that you can work your business still around all of those obstacles. You still had a residual income coming in. I mean, it's amazing. That's a huge part of it, that you're still getting paid.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously when you're on short-term disability, it doesn't pay anything like the money he was making when he was working out in North Dakota. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of debt, but because we had been able to pay that all off. But when your health insurance, when you think you have great health insurance, it still does not pay everything that they charge you for these sort of surgeries. So definitely we pay a lot of out-of-pocket stuff still.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Lori. And I loved what Judy said too about, she maybe isn't working her business like everybody else. That's the beauty of this business, is that you can really work it however you want. I'm kind of the same way. I haven't built my business through parties. I love parties, but nobody wants to party with me. I do a lot of launch parties. I am horrible at getting my own parties, but I love it. But so I built a lot through one-on-ones as well. So if you're not, maybe you're struggling, maybe your upline's building a different way, but it's just not working for you, don't feel like that's the only way to build your business. There's so many different ways to build this business. All right, Lori, do you want to share a little bit about your background and, Sure.
When I started, I had been out of Mary Kay for a couple years, joining under Caitlin, and I was working a PCA job that I absolutely hated. I'd leave every day, like driving frantically home, just wanting to crash my car. So I knew this wasn't what I wanted to do. I was also working for Corporate Clinique, which was another, like I didn't want to do that. And I was helping my mom, driving my mother 3 hours to be with her aunt that raised her. She was 90, she was dying of cancer, and there was no one that was willing to go and take care of her affairs or her. My mom said she wasn't going to let her die alone because she raised her. So I did that every 3 days going back, and I'd be on the phone with Caitlin, and I'd be trying to call people, and I'd be, doing all these things. And so there was no tools, like we had no website. I didn't have anything to hand out to anyone, or I'd just be telling people. But I worked in every home. I was in a nursing home-like thing, in every hospital, and I was telling everyone what I was doing, even though I didn't really even know what I was doing, and I wasn't doing much with it, but I knew I was good. So I mean, that was just really like. You did a launch party with me, Caitlin, my now ex-husband, my daughter, and a really negative friend. So that went well.
Nobody signed up.
Nobody signed up. This person lost inches and she wanted to go home to see if it worked. Really, you want to burn the bush or what? So, got through that. And I just really knew that I needed to be self-employed because these things I was doing, I got my first paycheck from Clinique and I quit because I'm like, I made this in one night, Mary Kay, I'm better than this. I'm not going to give you 50 hours a week. Look at this check, I want to throw up. So just got some of those things out of the way, knowing I was broke. I was really broke when I started. I remember Darlene Roth wanted me to do a event with her. She wanted $120. Do it. I'm like, I don't have $120 to my name. And she was like, I'm like, yeah, right, I don't. So, just got through stuff. I helped this friend of mine at a house cleaning business that I helped her, and I was like, I don't even want to clean my own house, let alone someone else's. But I did it because I needed some cash flow. So you just do what you got to do, because I knew I needed to be self-employed. Didn't know a whole lot about, we didn't have any way to know a whole lot about this company because none was there. But I knew it was something that no one else was doing. I wanted to do it. In that first year and a half, I moved, got divorced. I've this whole time taking care of both my parents. My dad has dementia, and my mom's health was failing year after year as the 5 years I've been in. A few years ago, I had moved my parents into my house. My mom was on hospice. My dad had dementia. They lived with me for about 4 months. During that whole time, I built my business differently. I didn't work a lot. For me to get out of that house and work was just so fun. I have an appointment, I have to go to work, thank God. But I was able to really, be there when I needed to be, and my checks went way down. And I had to rebuild. But I was able to do. I knew it was gonna happen. No. I know, I can do anything. I was still working and I was still committed to this. I just wasn't able to do as much of it, when I was doing it. So, whenever I'd be able to get to a meeting, I was just so happy to see everyone. I had no family support in this business. I think everyone thought, you quit Mary Kay, you were driving big Cadillacs, now you're going to sell this wrap. What the hell? Really? Where's my sign? WT.
Snickers was behind you. Lori,
what?
Snickers was behind you.
Snickers was behind me. My dog was about wrap. So, it was really hard, but, it is. It's all the people, and knowing that you're committed to the company, isn't that wrap shortage? That was hard. Oh my God, there's a lot of people that, we're getting hate messages. But you commit to the people, you commit to the company. Being with everyone and like-minded keeps you going, and I never thought of quitting because of obstacles I've had. of those kind of obstacles. I maybe had a couple thoughts like, what the hell am I doing? But it wasn't because of any obstacles, it was because the obstacles that I had made me know more that I'm in the right type of business, because I needed to make money. I like to make a lot of money. I don't want to make just a little bit of money. That's just not me. I want money in the bank. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to work paycheck to paycheck. You know, I've done that. I was a single mom. But just knowing that, things change. Things are going to get better. And my dad's in a home now that it's constantly, Thursday, I don't know if I talked to anyone Thursday, but I wasn't very nice. Thursday, it was a really bad day. But I'm constantly I'm working, but I'm getting calls all the time from my dad's home, and I'm just trying to keep him alive and his oxygen on his face. But I'm able to go there 4 or 5 times a week. I wouldn't have it any other way. Still building didn't you have a receptionist there as a customer of yours, Judy? Yeah, she is.
Small world.
Yes, it is. Yes, I didn't get her. Everything I've ever done, every hospital I've been sitting here doing anything. I am handing out blitz cards. I'm selling wraps. Anywhere we go. So any obstacles that you're having, you just find a way that you're going to work this thing, because we can work this anywhere, to help other people. Life just changes and things are going to get better. And, for me making this kind of money, I have 2 grandkids that are 15 and 12. Their mom's never going to be able to give them the things that I give them. They're in softball and dance and going to camp and all this stuff because of me. It's another reason I'm doing it. I wish my mom would live long enough to see me on Monday in the bank. If it weren't for this company, you wouldn't. I don't know people that are debt-free except in this company. You guys are the only ones that know that are debt-free. So if you're not debt-free, you stay here because you can be in this company. So yeah, I just think, every day this company is just a blessing, and the people, and you get through those obstacles in your life.
Awesome. And you've always been just so consistent, and that's one thing that I look up to a lot for, because I meet people out and about all the time, and they're all like, oh, do you know that cute little blonde? She's like so spunky, and I'm like, oh, Lori, yeah, she's like my mom. She's my mom. Mom home. Awesome. Thank you, Lori. All right, Dakota, I think you're the busiest one out of all of us. When you sent me the list of everything you have going on, I couldn't even read through it all. So I'm just going to let you take it away.
The goal is not to cry. And I'm already trying not to.
You can do it.
See, I had to. First of all, I have to thank 2 people in the crowd before I even start. Heidi and Amanda are part of the reason why I'm even still here. So, can you girls raise your hands so everybody can see how awesome you are? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning. My name is Lakota. I'm a double diamond. I have been with the company for 3.5 years now. And when I first started, I seen green. I was like, ooh, I can go all over the place with this. And I had my launch party, and I thought 1 million people were going to come. I had one friend show up. I was like, huh. Thankfully, she brought 2 friends, so I ended up with 3 loyals that day. But I really didn't get serious. I saw it was easy at that point, but I really didn't get serious with my business until January, when Lori and Crystal did this Destination to Diamond group with daily tasks every day. And I was like, oh, I never thought of all this stuff. And one thing that we really learned was doing something daily. It doesn't matter how big or how small, I'll do something daily. And I took it serious, and I started running with it. And within 3 months, I had 60 loyals, had earned my car bonus. I was on top of the world. When Emerald the next month had, lots and lots of people were just, it was like every time I turned around, my phone was going off. It was just, I was on top of the world. And I kind of got to sit there for a long time. It was up until October of 2013, so what, almost 2 years. The business was good. I'd have my ups and downs like anybody. I guess I had it really hard. I'd have lazy moments, I guess is where my hard moments came in. I needed those. I needed to sit and go, oh, I don't have to do anything. I got a team. Oh, this is awesome. I was kind of selfish. And you know what? My team went away. So don't do that. Big no. Love your team, love on them. But anyways, so I learned from that and I started over and it was great. Went double diamond, went double diamond, and the world was awesome. Nothing could take me down. Wow, was I wrong? Don't ever think that, you guys. Okay, stay humble. So, it kind of builds up. So it's not gonna seem, well, maybe it will to some, but not that big of a deal. But it keeps getting bigger. But hit my 2-year mark in the company, and my daughter's dad, after 11 years, decided he wanted to try and fight for full custody. I was like, really? 11 years, and now you decide you want to be a dad? And it doesn't seem like that big, and I always thought looking at custody cases for other people was like, oh, it can't be that bad. Even when you know you're going to win, it's still hard. So any moms in here who've done that, dads in here who've done that, I get it. I kind of get it. You really do just go to bed praying that you get to continue to be the full-time mommy. Well, anyways, life was getting better again, and we were starting to get out of that cloud, and we were still in the middle of it. And was doing good, got my groove back for a little bit, was out there every day, getting names and numbers, calling people. My calendar was turning green again, because that's the color I use for anything it works related is green. And it was like, oh, thank you, God, we survived that. And drove 90 miles to a nearby town. We're in Dickinson, North Dakota, and Bismarck is 90 miles from us. And I drove all the way to Bismarck, did some business building, was blitzing different businesses, getting names and numbers, got in my car, drove home, and I get a call from my mom. And is there any social workers or foster care workers in here? Because if so, you guys are underappreciated. I love you guys. Thank you. I respect you guys in a whole new light. Get a call from my mom, and I knew my sister was pregnant, but I did not know what was about to unravel. She didn't want the baby, so we said, you know what, we keep baby in the family. Me and my husband just a split decision said, okay, we'll adopt the baby. But I said I need to know when she's due, so I can tell my team when I'm going to kind of disappear for a couple weeks just to figure things out. Well, my sister didn't have any prenatal care the whole 9 months. At the time, we didn't know it, but she had been in labor for a few days. So I hadn't talked to her in years. I got rid of her. I shouldn't say got rid of her, she's not trash, but depending on how you look at it. She's just not good news, let's put it that way. And we're completely polar opposites, literally dark and light. I don't even know how to explain that. And so I saw she called my cell phone and I ignored it. So she called the house phone and I'm like, oh, I don't want to answer this phone. And she called my cell phone again and I'm like, okay, she's going to let us have a baby. The least I can do is answer the phone. Ended up being on the phone for 2 hours, convinced her to go to the hospital the next day to get a due date so I can let my team know what's going on. We get there, she's in labor, not even just minor labor. She should have been delivering baby days ago. She couldn't have the baby vaginally because she had to have a C-section. Her pelvis isn't big enough. They did an ultrasound, there was almost no amniotic fluid. The placenta was already calcifying. They did a drug test. She had meth, marijuana, and another narcotic in her system. And not only did we find out within less than 24 hours that we were taking on a baby, but now we had an addicted baby. And so the nurses were preparing me. They're like, are you sure? This baby's gonna be very sick. Her measurements weren't adding up. All her measurements were so wonky, they couldn't even guess how far along my sister was until the baby was born. Thankfully, she was 38 weeks, not 36 or 34 like some of the measurements said. And the baby was born. The umbilical cord was like less than my pinky. I was in the C-section room, and you could just see in the doctor's eyes, because I was in a panic. I wanted to get out of that room. I wanted to follow that baby. And I couldn't leave until my sister was completely knocked out. And As soon as her eyes closed, the anesthesiologist gave me that quick, like, get out of here. And I ran, and I was hysterical. I was just bawling, completely just broke down right there in front of the nursery doors, watching them try and get this baby breathing, trying to stimulate her. I thought for sure she was gonna be rushed off to Bismarck, which is our closest NICU. And luckily, she's a fighter. She pulled through. I was able to go in. Baby tested, highly positive for all the things, and it was in high amounts. She had just used before going into the hospital, so it was like full dose. So then it was a matter of now we needed to figure out what to do with the other two boys, my nephews, her other two sons, who actually were at my house, which my mom had had them. She had dumped them off on my mom a week prior to the baby being born. And so I told my mom, because she works full time, I'm like, you can't be a mom again. You know, let me take in the boys, and we did. And we spent the whole weekend hiding from Bio Daddy because he was trying to get the boys because they knew that the kids were going to be removed. And so I was constantly on the phone with an awesome police officer who was like, under anything you can do not let him have those boys. So did everything we could. We hid in our back bedroom for a long time. Nobody really knows this, but we live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We have 6 kids who live there now. My husband and I sleep on the living room floor. So it's not like it's some parade. It's not like we had a whole lot of room to take in kids. And so we're hiding in the back bedroom of this little apartment, and Monday comes, and we didn't even know if we were going to get to keep the kids, what was going to happen. And long story short, they did place the kids with us. We have found out that she drank, did drugs with all 3. All 3 have some kind of a disability of some sort, learning disability, speech disabilities, all kinds of different things. It's one thing when you have one autistic child, or when you have one child who may not develop past the age of a 3-year-old until maybe 6. He has a perceptive and receptive disorder. He cannot understand normal conversation like some of us can. So we have to really slow it down and explain to him that, yeah, you're 6 years old. I'm sorry that the 4-year-old can do more than you can. And this all happened overnight for us, you guys. So we went from being on top of the world to, I would wake up every day crying. I remember me and Pam talking one day. She's like, how can I help? I'm like, I don't know, I'm drowning. Because all I was doing was drowning. That's how I felt. I felt like I was trying to claw out of the situation that we didn't even know if we wanted to be in. We took a lot of prayers, a lot of support, and there was many days where I almost just was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do everything. And the only thing that I can give up right now is the business. But every day I still tried to do something, whether it was a post to Facebook or when a social worker would ask, how do I get a hold of you? I handed him a Blitz card instead of just yeah, let me give you the card. You know, and I put in like a 60-hour week in doctor's appointments, in developmental delay appointments, in special education, in all kinds of appointments. My calendar went from green to pink, because that was the color I gave them. And I remember having a complete breakdown one day at a diamond retreat that our wonderful Pam did. And I opened up my calendar and I just broke down. Because it's so full. Like, I could sit and read it, but like Crystal said, it's huge. Okay, like I don't have one night in the week where we don't have something going on. We were busy, crazy busy before the kids came, and I learned that you can always be busier no matter what's going on in your life. And at just the right time, God sent Heidi, because I was like, why am I even fighting it? You know, why do I keep it? It was almost, we were past the one, like not the 1 year mark, we were past, it's over 6 to 8 months that I had been struggling, and I'm like, why am I, maybe this is God's way of saying I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. And then Heidi joined, and I'm like, okay, that was his way of saying, don't you dare go anywhere. You're not supposed to leave yet. And so I just kept plugging along, and it took me, we've had I call them peanuts. If you follow me on Facebook, we've got middle peanut, older peanut, and baby peanut. Baby peanut just turned 10 months old. We brought her home from the hospital when she was 4 days old. Went through the withdrawals, the whole 9 yards. Middle peanut is 2 with mentality of a 1-year-old. And older peanut is 6 with mentality of a 3-year-old. So we have a 10-month-old, a 2-year-old, our biological is 5, then we have a 6-year-old, and then our other children, we have 8, by the way. Yeah, okay. We have a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And 6 of them live with us full time. And so when you guys think you're busy, remember me. But what I started doing is I go to the coffee shop now, no less than an hour, and I try to get there 2 to 3 days a week, and I try to be there for 2 to 3 hours instead. It took me 10 months or 9.5 to figure out that was what I needed to do, but every day I did. I cried because I couldn't figure out how to work it. And I remember posting something a couple months back that you don't give up on something that you can't go a day without thinking about. And that was a huge aha moment for me because I couldn't go a day without thinking about It Works and wrapping somebody or calling somebody or whatever, blitzing somebody. And so if you can't go a day without thinking about this company, don't you dare quit. Don't you dare. Because there is going to be a time when you can work it really hard again.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Give them a round of applause.